My God, I hate all of you people. I posted the first video on this build 2 days ago, and back then, Ripple Kismets were 150 FE each, and now they're 700. And instead of 2 pages, there's barely half. I'm just glad people are really having fun with the build. So anyways, Katie's in today's update video on our Oppenheimer, Bing 2, Spell Burst, Giga Boom, whatever you want to call it kind of build, we have quite a few revelations to talk about. First off, I'm basically immortal. I gained half a level from level 98 to 99 today in Profound Time Arcades, and I literally never once feared for my life. We have made quite a few major changes in terms of that, but we've also gotten quite a lot of really nice bits of tech to add to build to get more damage. And at the same time, I want to talk about my upgrade path and how I got to Profound Time Arcade. So if you are also playing this build yourself and aren't there yet, hopefully this helps you a little bit in terms of what order to go about for crafting and upgrading and whatnot. As always, in the description below, there's going to be a build planner. So just simply copy paste that code and put it into Pro Build section, leave a like on it, and then you can see everything in game if you want to see what my exact gear looks like. So with all that said, let's get into it and talk about all the very poggies upgrades. So let's start off the video by basically making your character immortal. When we last left off with the previous video, you may have noticed I had about 15,000 energy shield or so, and you might be going, wow, Allie, that's a lot of ES. Surely you felt pretty tanky. And yeah, I did. That was pretty good. But as you can see, I have 41,000 ES now. I basically have not died all of today while playing this character. I went from 0% at level 98 all the way to almost 50%. And all this was done in Profound T8 where I never once feared for my life. The point is, with today's upgrades, you are never going to fear death ever again. Most of this was pretty much accomplished through a single item, the Light Hunter belt. This thing is just stupid. It has a lot of flat ES on it, has a maximum % ES roll, which is a multiplier, and then it also comes with up to 30% less damage taken while your ES is active. It's just ridiculous how good this belt is. It is going to be a slight DPS loss from your Dawnbreak if you had a very well-rolled Dawnbreak, if you go grab yourself a min-rolled Light Hunter belt. But given that this thing will make you over twice as tanky, it's basically a no-brainer to swap to this. I would recommend to try and get yourself a corroded one, whether you get corroded, flat ES, % max ES, or less damage taken. It doesn't matter. Just try to get one, as all of these 3 corrosions are pretty damn good. I also decided to put +1 spell burst on here as my blending affix, as the one we were using before was just a cheapo one to get the build going. And now that we have a little bit more money, it's definitely worth it to move on to +1 spell burst. To go along with this, I did also make a few changes to my gear that I would recommend for you to try to look into making whenever you have maybe around 1,000 FE or so lying around, with the most major change being getting myself a new chestplate. Previously, I just had a chestplate with a Sweet Dream true damage roll on it, and I went and found myself a priceless one with added energy shield and then crafted a better chestplate from there. I do not recommend for you to do this. What I recommend for you to do instead is to find a priceless chestplate that has the true damage roll as the priceless affix, and then to Sweet Dream the max ES on there, as that is going to be significantly cheaper than doing this, as the true damage roll through Sweet Dream is unbelievably rare. Once you do have yourself your base, all you're going to be doing is just crafting on the ultimate aura effect roll and the ultimate additional maximum energy shield. And then from there, just put on some melee res. I put some erosion res. You can put some crit on here if you want to. And then obviously double T1 ES. I would also highly recommend for you to go and to T0 these as soon as you can, as the ES rolls and items become significantly better at T0 in comparison to T1. It is pretty cheap to do this at about 50 FE per roll or so. So on average, it should cost only 150 FE per T1 mod that you do. I would recommend for you to go and do the same thing for your gloves, your helmet, and your boots as soon as you can, as that is quite cheap to do and quite a pretty big DPS increase. And what the likely next upgrade for me is going to be is to go grab myself a new pair of boots, put on the ultimate additional maximum ES roll, make this a T1 roll as well, and then to T0 both of these ES rolls, along with doing the same thing for my other slots. That should easily put you probably pretty close to 50,000 ES on its own if you have pretty similar gear to me, and enjoy your ridiculous survival numbers. I'm not even res capped, and I don't really need to because I don't really think I can die like this. Now, to go along with this, we're also making quite a few changes to our passage tree. The main one to talk about here is going to be that we're going to be swapping over from Elementalist to Warlock. The reason we're doing this is because we have to move our prism from Magister to make space for an inverse image, as you can't have both on the same tree at the same time. What this does is it simply just reflects whatever's in the box to the other side of your tree, so we can just pick up another +1 spell burst along with all the pretty decent nodes around it. The only thing to mention about this is that you need to find yourself an inverse image that has a roll on the legendary medium talent effect that is -49 or higher. If it's -50, it will round down so your +1 spell burst becomes +0. Outside of that, the rest of the rolls don't matter. This thing is very expensive, with even slightly good rolls, and it's not something that would really make that much of a difference in our build. Ideally, eventually, you would want a plus 51% because that would turn the +1 spell burst into +2, and that'd be kind of broken, but that would be several thousand FE and not something you really need to worry about to begin with. The point is that that is going to be moving our Prism, and we can't really put in Lich. This is garbage, and we couldn't really put an Elementalist. It's also pretty garbage, so we had to go find a new talent tree to take. In our case, we're going to be picking up Warlock. Not only does this give you 5 legendary medium talents, which is amazing, but the 3 passive points that you save on not having to pick up this node to get over to the blind node can then just simply be spent on picking up the spell damage nodes where your previous Prism was to get access to Frail that way. Warlock is just kind of broken. You get slow, and we are going to also be fitting Frostbite into this build, which we'll talk about here in a minute. And Slow plus Frostbite together basically make monsters AFK, which feels like a disgusting defensive layer. But you also get Blinding, so you have a 20% chance not to get hit. You also have Blur, so you also have another 20% chance to not get hit. We get Paralyzed, so we don't need to run it on our main skill anymore. And then we get some pretty nice additional damage for cursed enemies. The thing about this is that the Warlock core talents suck. And what we're going to be doing is we're replacing them with Crushing Blast. This does mean you are going to have to find yourself a Prism with this specifically on it. And until you do this, it's not going to be worth making the swap, as your previous Prism is not going to be good enough to run with Warlock if you don't want DPS loss. If you're okay with losing a little bit DPS, you can just put your previous Prism in there and then upgrade to this later. But if you do want to have 1-to-1 the same damage, you are going to need to go find yourself this first. I also went and found Spell Aggression on mine, which allowed me to then get rid of Spell Aggression and run Insight instead for a little bit of extra damage. And I simply just went and looked for a movement speed roll, as that is very crucial to us. It is a little bit of a movement speed loss overall, but it is what it is. With this, you'll feel significantly tankier, and with the addition of Crushing Blast, you'll have a little bit of extra clear through the explosions, although they're not anything too amazing to write home about. But most importantly, you'll get 50% additional damage against bosses and elites, so you'll basically feel right at home in comparison to what you have. Elementalist. The other major change that's going to be happening to our build is going to be with our slates. Because we're going to be dropping Elementalist, we don't have access to Fire Infiltration anymore, so ideally you're going to try to find yourself this role somewhere. This can be on any of your corners of Divinity, or you can get this on a normal slate as well. The point is just try to find it wherever you can. The thing about this is that we need to ignite enemies to actually be able to trigger it, so you're also going to go and find yourself a 24% chance to inflict elemental ailments, adds 5 base elemental ailment damage roll somewhere as well. This is going to give you some damage with your ignites, so you can actually apply it, and then every time you hit the enemies with it, you also get Fire Infiltration. The cute thing about this is also going to give you access to Frostbites, because this now gives us a chance to apply elemental ailments, and in our build, we're going to be using 2 Cleric Wands, which have added cold damage as their base. What we're going to be doing later on as well is to also go and try to find a slate that has both Barrier Shield on it and the Elementalist added damage roll, as that will give you at least 1 lightning damage with all of your skills, giving you access to Numbed for another 25% more damage. You don't need to do that to begin with. Just simply try and grab yourself Fire Infiltration and the 5 base elemental damage rolls as your next upgrades once you swap to Warlock, and just enjoy the extra damage that that's going to offer you. To go back to our gear, let's talk about some more expensive upgrades that are going to be quite disgusting. First off, you're going to want to upgrade your Necklace of Firebird from a level 20 Barrier Burst to a corroded one that has level 25 on it, as this is about 50% more damage. These are somewhere around 1,000 FE or so, but it is highly worth it to save for this, as it's going to be an insane DPS increase. After you do that, I would recommend for you to go and craft yourself a new helmet. If yours doesn't have Barrier Shield on it yet, you really should go and grab yourself one with it, and you should also craft the Maximum Energy Shield Ultimate mod on it. You don't need to find yourself a priceless one yet, just simply grab yourself whatever you can, but these 2 mods will basically give you 40-50% more damage on their own. And then you should also go and do the same thing for your gloves, where you just go and replace the percent damage roll on here with the ultimate +2 level of active skill roll. Finally, once you've done those little crafting projects, it's time to think about our weapons, as we can get quite a lot of damage here. Ideally, you're going to want to go look for a priceless base that gives you elemental penetration, but you can just simply skip out on this and grab yourself something cheaper. And then we're going to be looking to craft this with int, spell damage, +2 fire skills, and then the 2 ultimate mods, double damage, and additional damage for spell burst skills. These wands are so much better than what you're previously using that if you literally just get a tier 2 double damage roll and a tier 2 spell burst roll and then +2 fire skill levels on it, and then your other 2 prefixes and your other suffix are empty, it is just going to be better than your previous weapon. One of these fully crafted like this should almost double your damage on its own, and we're going to be making 2 of these, so there is a lot of damage to be gained here. You should go and sweet dream these, and you should just try to roll for anything useful that doesn't also break you, but I wouldn't recommend spending too much money here, as sweet dreaming these is quite expensive, and we're going to be replacing these relatively soon anyways. It's up to you on when you want to do these. You can save these as your last upgrade, as I mentioned here, but I would maybe try to prioritize these a little bit sooner, as these are disgusting. They're fairly cheap to craft at about 1,000 FE each, and if you just simply grab yourself both of these, you should be able to start farming Timemark H2 incredibly efficiently, and that should make it a little bit easier for you to get the rest of the upgrades to be able to move on to Profound. My gear currently is a little bit overkill for Profound. I'm at about 40 to 45 billion DPS, and everything's pretty comfy, and I would say this build requires you to be able to hold about 25 to 30 billion dummy DPS to realistically not have any issues with Profound, assuming you don't put any mods on there that make you do less damage. My goal for tomorrow is to hopefully hit 100 billion DPS, and that should be enough for me to start doing Profound with whatever compasses I want to, assuming I'm not using legendary ones, and that should pretty heavily boost my total profit per hour. If you have any questions on anything that we went over in today's video, do feel free to leave a comment in the comments below, or feel free to come by my Twitch and ask me questions there, as I stream every single day, or if you simply just want to come by and hang out with other kitties and be a part of our community, I'd be more than happy to see you there or on our Discord. I'm having a lot of fun with this build so far, kitties, and my god, the sky is the limit in terms of upgrades we can make for this. They are going to get quite expensive pretty quickly, but hey, given how much money per hour you can make farming with this build, given it's so fast, I actually don't really mind it. It's pretty fun to just constantly find more broken items to just push our build further. It's really funny watching our ES number get bigger and bigger, and I don't know, to me, stuff like that is really enjoyable. Anyways, kitties, if you like this video, please do leave a like and consider subscribing. And as always, kitties, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and I'll see you all in the next video.